Hi everybody, I'm Professor Corrado and I wanted to make a quick welcome video for you so that you could have a face that you connect with the name and also the voice that you'll be hearing on all of the narrated PowerPoints and video lectures that you'll be watching over the next 5 weeks. So great to meet you all. I wish that we could meet in person or at the very least, have some more contact, but there's a lot of great benefits to asynchronous online classes because that's what we are. We're not going to be meeting at any particular time. Rather, we'll have 5 different modules that you'll complete over the course of these next weeks, including an additional introductory module, and also you'll have a final project at the end. And during that time, each module will be set up in about a week's time, and you'll have different deadlines that'll be due each week that you'll need to pay attention to. But you'll have a lot of freedom in when you complete the work and how you complete the work, as long as you complete the work. So a few things I want to highlight about the course so that I feel like, after you've read the syllabus, you have these other things that I really want you to hone in on. This is what I want to do here for these next few minutes. So first off, there's one book that's required for the course. So go to the syllabus, read it over carefully, and begin work on getting a hold of your getting a hold of your book for the class. You will need it, so yes, it is something that you need to have access to. There are copies on reserve at the library, at the university, but also you can buy used copies or new copies online, or even rent a copy of the book. If you want to use an older edition of the book, it's up to you to be able to check and see the table of contents and compare it and see which readings are missing and how you're going to get a hold of those missing readings, perhaps someone else in the class or going to the library at New Paltz and making a copy. So again, if you want to do that, that's fine, but that's up to you to figure out how you're going to get the missing readings that are in the newer edition that's listed as the book for the course. Okay? I mentioned how we are an asynchronous class. The other thing I want to say is that while there's a lot of freedom and flexibility in when you complete the work, like I said, there are deadlines that you need to pay attention to each week. And I do expect everyone to be kind of going to the course page online at least 2 or 3 times a week at a minimum to be able to be engaging, especially in the discussions online. The other thing I want to mention is that to find out what work is due each week, in the syllabus at the very end of it is the course outline and schedule. And that's where you're going to see all the work listed in a table. Online, you'll see that each module has its own folder, right, in this content section, and it's all listed in the same exact order as it is on the syllabus, so that everything kind of matches up evenly. So it's organized and that you don't have to worry or wonder, am I doing all the things I'm supposed to be doing? It's all right there listed in the same order, okay? So do go to the course outline and schedule at the end of the syllabus online to check out the work you have to do for each module. Grades. There are 3 main components to your final grade in the course. You'll have discussion board and module quizzes for every module, and you'll also have a final project. I'm not going to say much about the final project now. There will be a lot of information about that online on our course page, and I'll also make an announcement and have another video for you that goes in more depth and explains it, as well as some sample projects from previous students in different courses, so you can see the kind of final projects that have been submitted that have been particularly, interesting or hit the mark, okay? So more about the final project in the future. Instead, I want to talk first about the quizzes. The module quizzes will include multiple choice, short answer, and or essay questions. You can basically count on the fact that you'll have some writing and some multiple choice for all those quizzes, but they take various forms depending on the module. I vary it a little bit. The quizzes, make sure that you have done all the work for the module prior to starting it. It is a timed quiz, right? So you do have a bit of a limit there. So make sure that you've done all the readings, that you've watched and taken notes on the narrative PowerPoints, watched any films and taken notes on them, etc. All right, so that's basically the last thing you should do. Again, making sure that you get it in before the deadline, but you make sure you've done all the other work first. Lastly are the discussion boards for each of the modules, and this is how it works. The quick breakdown is you'll always have your own initial post which has a due date of Thursday in the given week. The only exception is in this very first introductory module and in module 1, where it's due Friday. Since we're starting on a Wednesday, we have a little bit more of a truncated schedule. All right. But generally speaking, your initial post will be due by Thursday, end of the day. And it'll be usually something that requires you to do some activity or do some thinking about the materials, or to create something. You know, I try to vary that as well. And it should be your own initial post. Now, when there's writing involved, which is basically for all the modules, the only exception is in your introductory poster. You just have to post your poster for your initial post to the discussion board. Your initial post should always be approximately 250 to 300 words. The same information is always on the discussion prompt, so you can see it there. And then you also have, after that, you'll have a secondary deadline, which is to respond to at least 4 peers. And so that can mean that someone writes in to your post and you reply to them, that counts. Or you see someone else's post and you write into them first, that counts as a response to your peer. So 4 of those total, and those responses should be about 150 to 200 words in general. And so what am I looking for you to do, especially in your responses to peers? I mean, for the discussion prompt, for the initial post, it'll be pretty clear what I'm looking for. But how do you respond and respond well to your peers? Here's a few tips that I think is worth you paying attention to and heeding from the very start, so that you get full credit on this requirement. So I've written myself a little cheat sheet, so I'm going to look down a little bit here and there. First of all, you can specifically quote something that your peer said, right, in their discussion post, and then use that as a jumping off point. And not just to say, oh my God, I totally agreed too, but to say, right, the way that you stated this is interesting because, right? Or when you mentioned this, it reminded me of this other thing we were talking about last week, right? Things like that. So specific rather than some vague agreement. Nobody wants to read vague, yes, I agree with you so much. People want something that they can sink their teeth into. So, you know, they're going to talk anyway, so let's give them content. All right. Secondly, another idea would be to specifically draw from the course materials for that module, meaning the readings or the film or the narrative PowerPoint, mentioning something or some things that really stick out, that help you sort of further a point that your peer was making, or back up what they were saying if they didn't use that course material to help them make their point, right? So moving the discussion along and getting us somewhere. Third is to use outside sources to extend our knowledge beyond the course material. I do prefer kind of what I would call reputable sources, so perhaps things that you've watched or read in other courses, or some reputable news source online, but not, say, for example, to heavily rely on things like people's blogs, if you still follow those or find those, or like a YouTube video that's made by an individual person who just has a YouTube account, or even a TikTok. That said, there are times when I do think that a good video or an interesting TED Talk would be another reputable source, but like a great TikTok can actually be very much just what your discussion needs. So I don't think it's off limits. Just don't heavily rely on that kind of thing. And lastly, the last kind of tip I have for being an active and interesting kind of participant on the discussion board that's going to get you the full credit and it's going to show me that you're actually engaging well in the discussions is to end your post, especially your initial post, but you can do this for the responses to peers as well, ending your posts with questions. This just sets the stage up for your peers to be able to have something to reply to have something to think about, to move the conversation forward, to examine whatever we're talking about through a sociological lens, which we're going to be learning about anyway. So think about how to do that by asking good questions that you would want to answer. Whenever you're writing a post, think about yourself on the other side reading it. Is this something I would care about? Is this something I would want to read? Would I be invested in this? Right? That's how you know that you're actually kind of participating well in the discussions and providing, you know, kind of a robust response, I guess you could say. So I hope that helps you feel a little bit more confident about what I'm looking for in terms of discussion, give you a sense of what those module quizzes will look like, and just generally speaking, get to hear from me and see me a little bit before we get started. So welcome everybody. I'm so glad you're here. I'm really looking forward to these next 5 weeks together and seeing what you all bring to the table and getting to know you a little bit through what we do online. All right. I'll be in touch again soon. Until then, get started, get excited, and I'll talk to you soon.